So as we get started today, I want you to think about the people you grew up with. Your parents, your siblings, their quirks and idiosyncrasies, those things that drove you a little bit batty. Well, I grew up with a dad who loves cars. But when we wanted to go for a ride in his car when we were kids, he wouldn't let us get in the car when it was still parked in the garage. He was scared we'd open the door and bang it against the wall. So as we were standing on the driveway, waiting for him to back up, we were also taking off our shoes. And then when we got in the car and sat down, we placed those shoes upside down on our laps. He didn't want to take a chance that even a small crumb would fall out on his pristine floorboard. And whether you're hot or cold going to your destination in his car, he wouldn't let you move the air vent to make yourself more comfortable. You just had to suffer through it. And absolutely no rolling down the window. He didn't want you to wear out the manual window roller downer. Do you remember when cars actually had those? So when I was in my early 20s, I was riding with my best friend in her old beat-up Camaro. We were going down the highway in Texas, and it was summertime, so it was about 100 degrees outside, and I had half my body hanging out the window. Why? Because I never got to roll the window down growing up. And so I told my friend, go faster. She sped up just a little bit. Go faster. She put the pedal to the metal, and I could feel that hot breeze against my face, and I was loving every second of it. Then all of a sudden I hear clunk, 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 clunk. What is that noise? We pull over on the side of the highway, and as the person who always supervised my dad when he tinkered with cars, I knew exactly what to do. Pop the hood. There was smoke coming out everywhere. Of course, as the supervisor, that's all I knew what to do. So I called my dad and explained the situation to him. And he says, Jessica, you see that beige container in the middle? Yeah, Dad? Is there liquid in it? I don't think so. Should there be? Jessica, you overheated. And you have an engine inside of you too. Are you pushing and pushing, going and going? Or are you stopping, pausing, checking in to refuel and refill? Today we're going to talk about how to prevent and break through burnout. I'm going to walk you through my 3-step proven pillar process to help with that. I'm going to help you identify what's leading to your burnout and also pinpoint what the cost of burnout looks like to you, and then give you some strategies to tackle the burnout beast. So as we get started, the first step is to assess. It's important to assess where you are and what's going on in order for you to know how you're going to get where you want to be. Now, oftentimes, in relation to burnout, what happens is individuals say it's an organization's responsibility to help me with burnout, and an organization says it's up to the individuals to help me with burnout. When in fact, it's two components that make up burnout prevention, and that's an individual's habits and an organizational's culture. And working together prevents burnout. If you have one of these that are misaligned, it's going to lead to burnout. Now, for the sake of time, we're not going to take a deep dive into both of these. We're going to focus today on an individual's habits, on what you're doing that's leading to burnout, and what you can also implement in tools and tactics that you can input into your day to help you prevent and better address burnout. Now, a recent client of mine reached out to me and recognized that their people were in burnout, and they wanted to be more proactive in burnout. They said that morale was down, people were missing work, they weren't just not engaged, in fact, they were disengaged. And they knew that they needed to get in front of the issue. And so when I went in and took a deep dive diagnostic, peeled back the layers, we found the root cause of what was really going on. And oftentimes, the root cause isn't what you think it is. And when we did that, we solved a $7 to $8 million problem in a matter of months and increased retention, engagement, and morale by 70%. So some of those strategies that I worked with that organization on, we're going to go over with you today to really help you get started with yourself, with your leaders, with your team to help better address and prevent burnout. Our company has done extensive research on burnout for many years, and we found that 79% of the workforce is in burnout, and almost half are in extreme burnout. So I want you to pause for just a minute, and I want you to do a check-in with yourself. Where are you in relation to burnout? Are you in extreme burnout? Meaning, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to keep doing this. Are you in the midst of burnout? Even a little bit, or maybe you're on the brink of burnout. Or are you wanting to prevent burnout? No matter where you are, you're not alone. Monster.com recently reported that 95% of the workforce is thinking of leaving their jobs. And the number one reason cited? Burnout. So as we go through this next section, we're going to go old school style today. So if you're joining me at home, get out a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. If you're here in person, make sure you have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. And as we go through the contributing factors, I encourage you to write down the ones that are leading to your burnout or the ones that might lead to your burnout in the future. The first one is working too many hours. Can anyone relate? Put in the chat box if you're joining me virtually. If you can relate to that, say yes. Right? So maybe you're starting work before you typically do, or you're finding yourself working late. When you're working from home, those home and work lines get blurred. You answer the phone at 7 o'clock at night or responding to emails at 10:30. You're not giving yourself that shut-off time. And along with that is the amount of work that you have to do in a day. Maybe you're used to managing and working with one leader, and now some of the staff was furloughed, and you find yourself managing 4 or 5 leaders. Or because of all that's gone on in the last 20 months, you're doing different things in new ways, in addition to what you already have to do in a typical day. So you're finding yourself doing a lot more work. And maybe you wake up in the morning saying, I'm already behind and the day is just starting. And then the next one is, if I can get the slide up, bad habits. So I want you to look at these bad habits. Say yes out loud or put yes in the chat box if you've ever had a lunch meeting, worked through lunch, or maybe you're saying, Jessica, what is lunch? Yeah, so I got 2 people who that's happened. Anybody else? Yes, right? Maybe it's your everyday occurrence now. It's one of the worst things that you can do for yourself. So if you get nothing out of today's session besides to schedule lunch for yourself, it will be a success. What happens is your brain needs that time to decompress, to unwind. So if you feel like you have a lot of work to get done and you need to work through lunch, make sure that you're eating for 30 minutes, and then you can spend the next 30 minutes of your lunch hour working. But you got to give yourself permission to actually take off work. Research shows you're most productive in a day if you work for 50 minutes, 50, and take a 10-minute break. Work for 50 minutes and take a 10-minute break. Say me, put me in the chat box if you've ever said, give me 10 more minutes to finish this, and you find yourself finishing 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later. Does that ever happen to me? Well, it's because when you say, just give me 10 more minutes to finish it, your brain is saying, walk away. I need time to decompress, to recharge, to refocus, to unwind. And you're saying, no, I'm just going to power through. I'm just going to push through to finish it. So when you're trying to push through and finish, you're easily distracted. You have interruptions. You're not focused. You're making more errors and mistakes. So next time that happens, give yourself permission to step away, close your eyes for a few minutes, go on a walk, have a conversation with someone else, and then when you come back to the task, you'll be able to get it done and be more productive. And then say NN or TT, put it in the chat box if you've ever worked with a negative Nancy or a toxic Tim. Raise your hand if you have. Yeah? 2 hands go up. Maybe you've worked with both. Or hopefully not at the same time. Right? Well, one NN or TT creates a hostile work environment. Starts leading to more stress. Starts overwhelming you. If you've ever had a phone call with someone and you get off the phone, or ever been in a meeting and shared something and you leave and you say, why did I even bother? The NN and TTs can infiltrate your organization. And then, how do you feel when you don't get quality sleep in a night? How do you feel the next morning? Say it out loud, I can't hear you. Grumpy, grouchy, irritated. You don't want to be bothered. I like that. You don't want to be bothered, right? Well, 1/3 of the population has short-term sleep insomnia, meaning that when you're trying to fall asleep at night, those wheels are still spinning and turning, and you don't fall asleep right away, or you don't sleep throughout the night. You wake up multiple times. So one way to start getting better sleep is to make sure you're going to bed at the same time every night, waking up at the same time every morning. Now, you may wake up at the same time every morning because you have an alarm set. Ensure you go to bed at the same time every night. Make sure you set a timer for yourself. Now, not one that's on your phone, because your tendency will be to scroll through social media or to respond to emails, but one in your kitchen, in your bathroom, in your bedroom, where you have to physically get up to turn it off. And just make sure you set it for an hour before you want to be in bed to give yourself that time to actually get in bed. So here are all the contributing factors for burnout. One of the ones I hear most often is poor leadership. And then, in the last 20 months, here are all the new contributing factors to burnout. So you didn't just have that first list, now you have a whole lot more. And if you just pick one of these, maybe it's the change, or maybe it's Zoomitis, right? Too many Zoom meetings, that Zoom fatigue that goes on. And it's stressing you out, burning you out. Just like burnout, it doesn't stay self-contained. It starts trickling over into every other area of your life. Impacts how you show up, how you lead, how you communicate, engage, interact. So which one is contributing to your burnout the most? Or the one that might be contributing it to the most in the future? The next pillar is mind shift. So there's habits and routines that you have in your life that maybe you don't think about. You do. You're on autopilot. And some of those can help you prevent and break through burnout if you just tweak and adjust them just a little bit. So you might have heard that when women are pregnant, they get these things called cravings. And I was no different. And in these cravings I have, it was an interesting factor. Because in those cravings, it's about really looking at how you're thinking of things and going and creating this routine, which is what I did every single night at 10:30 at night. And sometimes if you tweak and adjust it, it changes everything. And one way to do that in creating a mind shift is with brain teasers. So when you know the answer to this, just yell it out, put it in the chat box. I have streets but no pavements, cities but no buildings, forests but no trees, rivers yet no water. What am I? Yeah, someone got that fast. A map. Woo! That was awesome. Now, if you're like me and the more you were trying to push and push and push to think of an answer and an answer wasn't coming to you, it's because your brain needs to walk away and step away, and that solution will find its way to you. So raise your hand if it's ever happened where you look at someone and they look really familiar and you're like, I know them from somewhere. Where do I know them from? Right? And the more that you're trying to think of it, you're coming up with situations and experiences and people, and you're like, no, no, no. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, you're driving somewhere, and you're like, yes, I met them at this event 3 years ago when Susan introduced me to him, and you get super excited. So next time you're facing that challenge or that problem, instead of pushing your brain to try and address it and face it, walk away from it, and that solution will come to you. And stop pushing your brain to come up with the answer right then and there. So as I was talking about this craving that I got when I was pregnant, 10:30 at night, it involved the freezer and ice cream. Every night at 10:30 at night, I would go to the freezer. I would open the freezer and I would see Rocky Road, German chocolate, chocolate almond, chocolate moose tracks. You see a theme, it was chocolate, 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 chocolate. 9 different flavors of half-gallon ice cream. Come on over. And for 7 months, I ate 7 scoops of ice cream 7 days a week. And then when Blaze, my son, was born, I recognized that I was no longer eating for 2. So I ate 5 scoops of ice cream 7 days a week for 5 years. And one night, I went to the freezer like I had done every night up until that point. 10:30 at night, I opened the freezer, looked at my 9 different flavors of ice cream, and I said, which one sounds good tonight? And none of them sounded good. So I closed the freezer. I looked at the bowl of fruit on the counter, and I said, I've got to start eating better. And I heard this voice that said, if you want to be better, you have to change your mind. I thought, wow, that's powerful. I looked down and I see 5-year-old Blaze saying that to me. And I said, buddy, that's smart. Where did you get that? And he said, my brain. Mama, with my brain, I can do anything. And I said, you are so right. And so I started thinking about what he was saying. And so I went into the refrigerator. I grabbed a cheese stick and yogurt. Ugh, I hated yogurt. And so I did what a 5-year-old would do when they hate something, plug my nose and eat the yogurt, all the while saying, yes, I've got to be better. I've got to start eating better. I made my way through that yogurt. And then the next night, the exact same thing happened. 10:30 at night, I went to the freezer, looked at all my ice cream. Nothing sounded good. And I heard Blaze's words back in my head. Has that ever happened to you? Where someone says something and it's powerful and it sticks with you and you replay it in your head? If you want to be better, you have to change your mind. So I went in the refrigerator, grabbed a cheese stick and yogurt. Ugh. Plugged my nose again and made my way through that yogurt. And then that weekend, I went to the grocery store and bought different flavors of yogurt, different brands of yogurt, and started trying different yogurt and found out that I really enjoy yogurt. But I enjoy sweet flavors like key lime pie or chocolate, right? Surprisingly enough. And so, what is that routine, that thing in your life that you have been doing over and over? Maybe it's 10:30 at night without even thinking about it, that you're on autopilot. Because sometimes those routines aren't serving you. And then what is it in your life that you've been telling yourself you don't like? That maybe you tried it before and it didn't work out. Or you're not going to be successful, so you're just not going to do it. What is that you've been telling yourself? So as we go through this next session, I want you to think of how you can tweak something in your life, a routine, a habit, to create more success with it. So the first one is exercise and meditation. Now, you may have heard of exercise, and you may know people, and they work out 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, and what does that sound like to you? Work. And you say, I don't have 2 hours a day to do that. So it's not about 2 hours a day. It's about where in your day can you create more pockets of time throughout your day. So maybe you're going to be going on a walk for those 10 minutes, 5 minutes of stretching, 2 minutes of jumping jacks, 1 minute of running. Or maybe you're going to put on your favorite song and do the Running Man, right? Woo! Now, if you say, Jessica, my favorite song does not make me want to do the Running Man, I encourage you to get a new favorite song. So in those pockets of time throughout your day, how can you create more movement? And then also, meditation is really great. We're going to go through and work together an exercise called boxed breathing. Because when you are stressed, overwhelmed, when you feel that pressure, you tend to take shallow, quick, short breaths. And the ones that help you the most to find center, calm, and peace are those long, deep breaths. So I want you to think of a box where all sides are created equal. We're going to breathe in for 4 beats, pause for 4, out for 4, and pause for 4. If you're joining me virtually, I encourage you to join with us. So put your shoulders back, feet on the ground, head up. And as we do this, I want you to solely focus on your breathing. So the tendency will be to think of the emails you got to get to, the work that you got to get done, what you're missing out on home. But I want you to solely focus on your breathing. And everyone's going to close their eyes for me. We're going to breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. Out for 4. 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. In for 4. 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. Out for 4. 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. In for 4. 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. Out for 4. 3, 4. Pause for 4. 3, 4. Now, before you open your eyes, roll your head in circles to the right. Roll it in circles to the left. Roll your shoulders back in circles. Roll them forward. Stick your right foot out. Roll your ankle around in circles to the right. Roll it around in circles to the left. Stick your left foot out. Roll it around in circles to the left. Roll it to the right. Roll your shoulders back again. Roll them forward. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. Take a deep breath in and slowly let it out. And then open your eyes when you're ready. How do you feel? Say out loud. Relaxed? Calm? Now, there's a lot of power in that the longer you do it. So when you're doing it for 10 minutes throughout your day, it's going to be extremely powerful. Research shows when you do that, it enhances your critical thinking skills and helps you make better decisions. So anytime you're making a really important decision, make sure you do that exercise beforehand, or if you're going into a conversation that you're nervous or hesitant about, it's a great method to do that to make sure your heart rate is even. Now, the next one is hobbies and interests. So say out loud 2 of your favorite hobbies or interests that you do. Consistently, not once a year, once every other year. Things that you do on a consistent basis. Exercise, what else? Dancing. So you must do the Running Man too then. I know you do if you're dancing. What else? Scrapbooking. Yes, reading. I love it. Crossword puzzles. Put it in the chat box what your hobbies or interests are. Now, by the time you reach midlife, most adults can't name 2 hobbies and interests that they do on a consistent basis. So make sure that you're doing them consistently. Can I get the slides up, please? And so I want you to think about how to tap into that creativity that you have. So whether it's scrapbooking, reading, maybe it's glass blowing, woodworking. Because when you're tapping into that creativity, that's where innovation happens, new perspectives, ideas come into play. If you give a kid an empty box, they'll build a fort, a castle, a racetrack. If you give an adult an empty box, they say, what am I going to do with an empty box? So when you tap into that creativity, your imagination starts to be enhanced. So make sure you're doing that on a consistent basis. That hobby and interest that you've been putting off, that's on the back burner that you say, I'm going to get to one day, start doing that today. You can also put a hobby and interest together and merge it with a form of movement and have something like an epic Nerf battle. It's a great way to relieve that stressor and pressure, whether it's with a kid or your team or friends. You're combining both of them at the same time. And then the next one is your support system. So it's vital to have a strong support system inside of work and outside of work. Inside of work with people like this who get it, who understand, that you can share best practices with, that you can mastermind with. It's also important to have a strong support system outside of work, especially if it's burning you out, stressing you out, or adding that pressure to your life is work. You've got to give yourself permission to take off that work and talk about other things, be around other people, do new things. So where do you need a stronger support system? Inside of work or outside of work? Outside? Oftentimes people want to help. They want to be that support system. They just don't know how to do it. And if you know someone that you can be a strong support system for, reach out to them and say, how can I help? Sometimes those are the most important words that you can say to someone because our brains are wired to answer questions. So there's a big difference between saying, let me know if you need something, and how can I help? Because your person that you're saying, how can I help to, will answer that question for you. So make sure you're reaching out. So we've talked about the first pillar of assess, the second one of creating a mind shift, and then the third one is personal care. So I want you to think about walking around and carrying water balloons. You're probably pretty delicate when you walk around with them because you don't want to drop them and get yourself wet. So I want you to think of your plate and all the water balloons, all the balls that you're juggling, all the water balloons that are on your plate. So say out loud, what are some of those balls that you're juggling? Those water balloons you're trying not to drop. What are they? Say it loud. Family, what else? Work, what at work? Friends. What is it at work that you're trying to juggle? Calendars, yes. What else? Keeping up. Travel. What else? Chores, right? Chores. Those are never ending, right? But yet, where are you? No one said me. I'm trying to put me on the plate. Trying to do for me. Because you can't keep managing calendars, doing the chores, keeping up with family, with work, with friends, all these things without first taking care of yourself. Because it's no longer a luxury to take care of you, it's a necessity. So how can you start taking better care of yourself? We're going to talk about some strategies to do that in just a few minutes. So as we go through this, you may be saying, Jessica, I know these things. I've heard that exercise is really good. It's not about having the information. It's about doing something with the information you have. So as we go through the rest of this session, I want you to think about what are you going to do with the information that you know in order to prevent and break through burnout. Now, oftentimes when people are talking about burnout, you may hear about being resilient. And you may think that you have to be strong, that you have to power through. It's not about powering through, and it's not about being strong. It's about giving yourself the grace, which Lisa mentioned, the grace, the permission, the space and the place to work through things, to feel however it is you're feeling. Because when you do that, you can spring forward to a better you, a more amazing, awesome you at work, with your friends, at home, and with life. Because it's really not about work-life balance. It's about life-work balance. How are you being in life? And yes, work happens to be a part of that. So how can you focus more on the life part and incorporate work into that as opposed to vice versa? So here's another brain teaser for you. When you know the answer, scream it out. Put it in the chat box. 10 candles stand burning in the dining room. A strong breeze blows in through an open window and extinguishes 3 of them. Assuming the wind doesn't extinguish any more candles, how many candles do you have left in the end? Okay, does anybody have a different answer besides 10? 7, none? 3. The 7 candles that manage to stay lit will melt down completely, and the only candles that remain in the end are the 3 that are extinguished by the wind and therefore stay intact. Aha! Aha! Sometimes we just need to look at things a little bit differently, and then it's like, oh, okay, gotcha. So let's talk about what the cost of burnout looks like to you. So if you continue to not put yourself on your plate, you continue to focus on work and managing others and taking care of everything but you, what does that look like for you? So I want you to go through this exercise. I encourage you to go through it with us here. So pick one of the contributing factors that were leading to your burnout, what we talked about at the beginning. So let's say you're not getting enough sleep or quality sleep. A preventative measure for that is to make sure you're going to bed at the same time every night, waking up at the same time every morning. And what is the benefit of success, of you getting better sleep? And we're going to do that over the course of time. So when you get better sleep over the course of 3 months, you feel well rested. 6 months, you have more energy. A year, you're more engaged. Over 3 years, you're getting more done, and you're going to get a raise. Yay! Now, let's say nothing changes. You're in burnout, you get deeper in burnout, or right now you're on the brink of burnout, so then ultimately you get in burnout. You don't implement anything. What does the cost look like to you for that, of doing nothing? We're going to do it over the same course of time. So you still get poor sleep. What does that look like over the course of 3 months? You're grouchy. You're moody. You're impatient. Over the course of 6 months, you don't have the energy. Over a year, you're disengaged. Or maybe it has nothing to do with work. Maybe it has to do with home. So over the course of a year, your kids stop asking you for help because every time they asked you for help, you were grouchy, impatient, moody. And so they don't know if they're going to get the nice parent or the grouchy parent. They stop asking you to play with them because when they did before, you'd say, I'm tired. I don't have the energy. I'm exhausted. And let's say in 3 years, they're out of the house. And when you call them, they don't answer the phone. When you text them, they don't reply. When they do reply 2 weeks later, they give you the dreaded 4-letter word. Fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. And you say, what? What? I haven't talked to you in weeks, and that's all I get is fine. Because now it's not that they're just not engaged, they're disengaged. And when someone becomes disengaged, it becomes a lot harder to bring them back to engagement. So what does that cost of burnout look like to you? If you went through this exercise and you identified what that cost of burnout was to you, you would also know that that cost of burnout is too high. That you don't want your kids to stop talking to you or to give you a one-word answer. And so you have to implement something to ensure that that cost of burnout doesn't become your reality. So what is it that you're going to implement to ensure that that doesn't happen in your life? Let's talk about the top 5 ways to tackle the burnout beast. Because burnout is a beast. So the first one is boundaries. Think of a toddler that you know. We put these gates up around them so they don't put their hand on the stove, so they don't climb the stairs, so they don't get hurt. And as the toddler gets older, the boundaries change. Yes, you can stay out later. You can... Oh, hi. The boundaries change. You say, yes, you can stay later. Yes, you can drive the car, but only on the weekend. And as an adult, it's as though these boundaries cease to exist. You say yes when you really mean no. So next time you say yes, is that yes more important than what you're saying no to? Because with every yes, there's a no attached. Yes, I can work later. That means no to dinner with my family. Yes, I can take on that project. That means working over the weekend, and no to activities with friends. And is that yes more important than the no? And then you can also use the yes and strategy. Yes, I can work later, and I'm going to start work an hour later tomorrow. Yes, I can work on that project, and I'll need Tina and Sean to help me. So how can you say yes and still adhere to your boundaries as well? The next one is education. Now, this isn't a one and done process. You're going to get out of here and say, I'm never going to be in burnout again after this hour. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It's important to have some kind of continuing education process in place. program in place. Because burnout is happening in the day-to-day. You need help and support around those day-to-day activities, those day-to-day tasks. So in your organization, do you have a burnout program in place to not just help you, but to help leaders, to help your staff? And if not, now's the perfect time to get it. Now, you may have a workplace wellness initiative in place, but 97% of workplace wellness programs don't address burnout. They're two different things. And with burnout, you have to be very intentional and strategic with it. Burnout also starts happening about 12 to 18 months in an organization. So think about how long you've been doing what you're doing. So it's important to have that burnout program as part of your onboard process when you're bringing more people into your team, into your department, into the organization. That onboard process when you're training people, helping people get acclimated with how you do things. Let them know what could lead to burnout in their position, in their job, in the industry, so they know what to look out for. Less chance that they're going to feel it. So how can you continue that education? And also start talking about burnout. Start communicating. Share your burnout story. People want to know now more than ever that they're not alone. And when you share your burnout story of when it happened, why it happened, what you did to work through it, it allows them to know that, yes, someone else out there gets it. They understand and they know they're going to be met with compassion, empathy, and understanding. I understand how burnout impacts you. I was a number one sales performer at a Fortune 100 company. I was winning every sales award within the first 18 months, and I was also working 70, 80 hours a week, not taking breaks. And after about 18 months, I hit burnout. And when I approached my leaders in the organization about it, they had nothing in place. They didn't know what to do. And under 2 years, I left that organization. And I know you don't want to be losing your top talent on your team. And so it's something that you can share with your leader as well on how they can start engaging people more in your department, in your organization, and start having that open dialogue and forum around these topics that are impacting people the most. And then you can also do a 2-word check-in where you start and you say, just tell me 2 words of how you're feeling. You can do this at home. You can do this on your team with your leader. It allows you to stop and pause and really acknowledge how you're feeling. And there's no judgment in how you're feeling because it's okay to not always be okay. And so we're going to do that. Shout out 2 words of how you're feeling. Shout it out loud so I can hear. Put it in the chat box if you're at home. How are you feeling? There's no judgment. Joy. Energetic. Happy. How else are you feeling? Tired. Grateful. Hungry. I hear you. How else? Burned out. Thankful. Thank you for sharing. I know there's people in here who didn't share, that are feeling stressed, that are feeling anxious, that are sad, that are overwhelmed. And if you are, that's okay. And when you ask that and someone says, I'm stressed, I'm sad, I'm nervous, I'm hesitant, it's a great way to start a conversation with them and say, talk to me, Goose. What's going on? How can I help? And let them know that you're there, that you are their support, and that you want to help them. The next one is to acknowledge. Acknowledge that burnout is a real issue. And this is something you can take back because lots of leaders want to know exactly how burnout is impacting their organization for them to become more proactive with it. So we're going to break it down by the numbers. And even if you're not a numbers person, it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to break it down for you so you can share and let others in your organization know the real impact that it's making. So average cost of turnover is 1/2 to 2/3 of an employee's salary. Half of turnover is due to burnout, and the average turnover rate is 36.4%. So a recent client of mine reached out and wanted our company's formula for really spelling out how much this is costing their organization. So here's how we broke it down for them. They had $60,000 as their average salary in a 1,000-person organization. And 360 people were leaving every year, which meant 180 were leaving due to burnout. Is everyone following where I'm getting these numbers from the previous slide? And so we went on the low end, meaning we didn't go on the high end of the cost of turnover of 2/3. We went on the low end, that it's 1/2 an employee's salary, which is where the $30,000 comes into play. Meant every year they're losing $5.4 million due to burnout. Wow. Now, this doesn't take into account the loss of productivity, the decrease in performance, decrease in engagement, increase in healthcare costs or cybersecurity attacks. This is solely due to turnover. And this is the amount they lose every single year until they put things in place to address and prevent it. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's things that you can do for yourself, for your team, in your organization. And it starts with also sharing this information with your leader so they then can do something on a bigger level as well. So through our research at our company, we found the longer you're in an industry, the more burnout hits, the longer it stays, and the harder it is to get out of. So by the time you've been doing it 20 years, it looks like a roller coaster, right? So it's important. I heard a from someone out there. They must be in it a long time. So it's important to stop and pause and check in with yourself consistently on how you're feeling and chart that. And then next to that number, whether you're a 4, whether you're an 8, write down why you feel that way. And once you do this, you can import it over the course of a year. And a couple of great things happen. You'll find patterns that come up, meaning maybe you always thought you were the most burned out in August, and you really find out you're more burned out in May. So you can start to really be intentional and strategic even more in the end of April to incorporate things to ensure that burnout doesn't happen. One of the misconceptions about going on vacation, people say, I'm going on vacation to cure burnout, to prevent burnout, to help with burnout. And it's a myth. Because what happens when you go on vacation? I mean, there's lots of things, obviously, that happen. I heard someone say stressed. You feel stressed? Maybe you're thinking about all the stuff that you got to do when you get back. So you can't fully relax even when you're at the beach because you're thinking about the emails or the meetings you got to get to, right? And maybe even if you are able to relax, you get back from vacation, the first day you feel awesome. You feel amazing. And then the reality of all the stuff that you missed while you're on your vacation comes back to you, right? Then you feel overwhelmed. And you've got all this work that you've got to catch up on because you stepped away. And if nothing in your day changed before you went on vacation, all the things that were leading to burnout and putting you in burnout before vacation are waiting for you when you get back. So vacation doesn't cure burnout, doesn't help with burnout. It's great to recharge and refocus, but it's important to be intentional and strategic in your days So burnout isn't sitting there waiting for you when you come back. So things in your days have to change in order for burnout to not come back. And, slide please. The next one is to schedule. When you are busy, when you feel that pressure and stress, the number one thing you take out of your day is fun. And it's also the number one thing you need to combat those exact things. So it's not about going out and spending 2 hours of fun. It's about finding fun into pockets of time throughout your day. So in 10 minutes, how can you have more fun? And as I tell Blaze, there are different levels of fun. We're not going to be at a high to 10 every single day, right? So how can you incorporate even small pockets of time of that fun throughout your day? Now, if you are going into the work environment, even if you're going in one day these days, or maybe your organization, you're about to come back in, even in a small capacity, something you can implement at work is a puzzle. So what starts off as everyone putting to one piece together, they'll end up working together, creating a masterpiece. So you're going to create a stronger team dynamic. But puzzles are also known to release dopamine, which puts you in a good mood and creates optimism at the same time. So you're going to be creating a win-win situation. And the more fun people have at work, the more they want to go to work, and the less turnover you're going to have because they're going to stay longer. Yeah, baby, that's a 4.
There you go.
Score.
This covers it up.
Yeah, baby, that's a 4.
There you go.
Score. And so how can you take fun and flip it on its head and up-level that comfort zone and do something new or in a different way, like axe throwing? And then the last one is thinking time. If you're like most people, from the minute you get up in the morning, you're rushing around, getting dressed. If you have kids, you're getting them ready, sending them off to where they need to go. You start work and you're busy, go. And then after that, the kids are home, they disrupt you. And then the biggest question of the day is, what are we going to eat for dinner? Right? It's like it weighs on you. And then once you figure that out and you cook dinner and you get them in bed and you want to go to bed and you're exhausted. And you can't go to sleep because all the wheels are spinning from the day. So whether you start the day saying, these are the 6 ways today is going to be amazing, or end the day saying, these are the 5 things I'm most thankful for, how can you give yourself that time and that space to just think? To not go, but just to be, to recharge, to refocus, and just think and be and process a situation, an experience, a conversation, and say, these are the things that I'm most thankful for throughout the day. So that thinking time is important for you to get refocused and re-energized. So here are the 5 ways to tackle the burnout beast. And as you look at these, pick one. What's the one that needs your attention? Which one needs your focus? Say out loud, which one are you going to do? Thinking time, boundaries, schedule fun. Say it again. So, schedule, boundaries, I love it. Awesome. So just pick one, because it's not about going back and doing everything that we're talking about. It's about picking one and doing that one consistently over the course of time creates massive, big results and changes. So we're going to play a little game. I need 4 people who would like to participate with me. You're going to come up and join me up here. It's a very easy game, so no worries. Who wants to come and be bold and brave and play? Come on up. Let's give them a round of applause. I don't want you to fall on the balls up here. So I'm going to have 2 of you on this side, 2 of you on this side. And then you're going to pick a buzzer. So you two are going to be on a team, and you two are going to be on a team, okay? Okay, I've used this like many times, and I was like, oh, why is it not opening? Awesome. And all I ask is that you hit it really hard to make sure it works. Yes, awesome. Okay. So I'm going to have you two line up this way facing them. I'm going to have you two line up this way facing them so they can see your beautiful faces. Okay, so here's how this works. I'm going to read some questions, and when you know the answer, hit the buzzer. Okay? Now, since you're playing on a team, even if you hit the buzzer, your partner can help you answer the question. Okay? So you don't have to know the full question. You can rely on your partner to help you answer it. Okay? Does that make sense? And at the end of the questions, there's 5 questions. Whoever has the most points wins. Got it? Everyone got it? And what I'm going to do so they can hear you is I'm going to give you this so you can answer the question. Okay? Are we ready? Okay. What are the 2 major components of burnout prevention? Yes? Yeah. So, here.
Oh. Habits and organizational culture.
Yes. Let's give her a round of applause. Woo! Habits and organizational culture. Great job. Okay. Here's the next one. Name 2 of the contributing factors to burnout. I heard this first. I thought I heard the green, but that's all right. Whoever wants to answer, you're on the same team.
Change and...
There's about 24 of them.
I know. Schedule. Or, I'm sorry. No, this should go.
Do you know one?
Change. Yeah.
Change and... Some of them were pictures that I went over at the beginning, and then there was 2 different lists.
Oh, Zoomitis.
Yeah, there you go. Woo! There you go. Woo! Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're at 1-1. We got a real game going on, people. Okay, according to my company's research, what percentage of the people are in burnout?
36.4%.
No. Do y'all know?
70%?
I'm sorry?
70%?
No. 79%. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Name 3 of the top 5 ways to tackle the burnout beast. I heard someone on this side first.
I didn't press it.
Beast. Oh, all right. Thinking time. Schedule. Acknowledge.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Woo! Okay, good job. Okay, now each person on the team has to answer this one. Individually, yes. So name an action you will take or a strategy you will implement for yourself. Each person on the team has to answer. I'm sorry. I need to redo. Okay, well let me, okay, I have a bonus question. But that's okay. Let me think of another one. Okay. Y'all putting the pressure on me because I didn't have a backup question. Okay, does someone have a question that they know the answer to from the session? What is one of the 3, yes, thank you. What is one of the key factors for success? Yes, Blue.
Time management?
No.
Do you know?
Oh, is it like a real thing, or is it like taking one of these?
There was a slide that said key factors for success.
Taking care of yourself? Taking care of yourself?
No? Does anybody know? Yes. Exercise, box breathing, meditation, hobby, support system, Okay, let's give them a round of applause. So, everybody stay up here. So great job, great job. So that one question that I was asking was, what's the one action you're going to take? So you can share that. Okay, boundaries. Acknowledge. I'll take the buzzer. Acknowledge. Okay, what about you? Taking time off, yes.
Boundaries with the yes and.
Yes, and. Okay, for being bold and brave and courageous today, you are going to get a copy of one of my books. So, one is called Tame Your Brain Game, 52 Tips to Turn Negative Thoughts into Positive Action. This is really taking a deeper dive into the mind shift and mindset portion we talked about briefly here today. And the other one is Blaze Your Brain to Extinguish Burnout, 52 Keys to Prevent Breakthrough and Eliminate Burnout, which is talking about the habits and cultures that we're talking about today. Which would you prefer?
Brain game.
Yep, which one?
Brain game.
And I have more, so you can have whichever one you prefer. Sorry, I don't know. Are you going for the top or the bottom? Are you sure? I have another one of these if you want it. It's right here.
It's okay.
Are you sure? Okay. Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Woo! Thank you for coming up and sharing your brilliance and being brave and bold. That takes a lot because they didn't even know what I was going to ask. They really didn't even know what I was going to have them do. So, yeah, that was great. So if you want to create better habits in your life, get out your smartphone and text the number 66866. So where you would typically put in a phone number, you're going to put in this 5-digit number, 66866. And then in the text message where you normally say, hey, how's it going? How are you? You're going to just put the word burnout. It'll ask for your email, first and last name. Put that in and you'll get a free PDF to download to create and develop better habits in your life. On the first page of this PDF is going to be strategies and tips for creating success and developing better habits. The second page is a list of new and different habits that you can implement, and then you're going to get several blank pages. And on those blank pages, I encourage you to write down the habits that you have in your life that are working really well for you. And then maybe write down 1 or 2 new ones that you can incorporate, but not more than 1 or 2, because we don't want to overwhelm you or stress you out, right? So just incorporate 1 or 2. You can also use those blank pages. One can be for what you're going to do at home in your personal life. One can be what you're going to do at work or what you're going to help your team do or those that you manage and work with do. So you can use them in a variety of different ways. Okay? And if you're joining me virtually and you want a copy of my book, you can go to jessicarector.com/store. And as Lisa mentioned earlier, that I will also be over in the Success Store after this, so you can get, if you're here with me in person, you can go get a copy of the book over there, and I'm happy to sign it for you. Now, the great things, I do want to highlight just a component of those books, the people who got the book already. One of the great components of it is that there's 52 in there, so you can go through one a week. Strategy, exercise, activity that you can work through. And you can also get other people involved. So you can have a group, you can have your team, department, get a book, and go through it. And at the end of the week, you say, what was the great thing that happened? What did we accomplish? What was the success? And you can really champion and encourage each other and acknowledge and appreciate, really creating that stronger support system inside work. You can also say, what were the challenges, the issues that came up? You can mastermind and brainstorm around those challenges and issues to help each other work through those. And if you have any questions that we're not going to get to today and you're not here in person, you can reach out to me at jessica@jessicarector.com, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. So we went through the 3-step proven pillar process to help amp up yourself and things that you can implement also to help your team. Now, when Blaze was 3 years old, I said, buddy, got to go to bed. It's bedtime. And he said, no bed, Mommy. We had no fun today. And I said, what? Yeah, we did. He's like, no. And then the next day, I put him in bed, and he said, Mommy, I cannot go to sleep. I need fun. Mommy's boring. I'm like, what? Mommy's fun. Mommy is not boring. He's like, boring, Mommy. And on the third night, I said, buddy, it's bedtime. Go get your PJs on. And he came out in this Mickey Mouse costume. And he says, I'm going to wear this costume until we start having fun. And every night, as he slept, I would whisper in his ear, Mommy will do better tomorrow. Mommy will be better tomorrow. And that turned into days, into weeks, into months. And then one morning, I was thinking about it, and I realized that the only time I had that conversation with him was when he was asleep. Because I was scared of what he would say if I had it when he was awake. And so that morning, I went up to him and I said, buddy, I'm sorry that we don't have any fun. Mommy will do better. Mommy will be better. And he says, it's okay, Mommy. I love you. And that tomorrow became that day. And so now it's a priority to have fun every single day. But what I also recognized is that it was the environment and the culture that I was setting up for him. That I was sharing and telling him that work was more important. That tasks were a priority. That busy was more important than him. Spending time with him, having fun with him. And that's not the culture and the environment that I wanted to set up for him. So I want you to take a look at the culture and environment you have at work and at home. Is that the one you want to be setting up? Because you have everything within your power to change it if it's not. You have all the tools, all the abilities to create a new or a different culture and environment. Not just for the people you work with, but for your family as well. The biggest risk to your organization and to your team, and specifically to you, is burnout. Are you keeping track of it? Are you implementing and being intentional and strategic to try to prevent it, address it? Or are you hoping it's going to go away on its own? Burnout never goes away on its own. So I want you to think about the one thing that you're going to implement in order to create that change in your life, to ensure burnout doesn't impact you. And even if you're not the one in burnout, burnout still affects you. Because if your leader is in burnout, and if you're managing multiple leaders, you're taking on that stress, you're taking on that pressure. So it impacts you. It impacts how you're showing up, your emotions, impacts the amount of work you're getting done. So it's important to figure out what you're going to do to be intentional and strategic. Here's all my contact information. Make sure you reach out to me. Let me know how I can help you and your organization in relation to burnout or turning negative thoughts into positive action. If you are on LinkedIn, please connect with me there. I am very active, and you'll get lots of tools, tactics, and strategies as well. Come and say hi to me at the Success Store. I would love to meet you. Isn't it amazing to be in person and see people face to face? Yes, it is, right? The energy. And you're like, yes, I love it. And if this applies to you, thank you for your service. And to all of you, thank you for investing your time, energy, and resources in being here. You're doing the exact right first step to take better care of yourself. Have an awesome day.